The moment that baby comes out, you become such a mama bear. You look terrible. I love you, but you look terrible. A time during the day that we call the witching hour. And that is to be aware of survivor bias. Hi moms, my name is Liz Feezy. I'm a midwife, an author, and a mother of 2 4-year-old and very busy twin girls. This is little Luca. He's a doll that looks like a real baby, and he's going to help me today. And in this video, I want to talk about the most important things that you should know if you are pregnant right now. And it's not what you expect, I can promise you that. So when you are pregnant, everybody wants to tell you about their experiences, their birth story, their feeding stories, and it can be extremely overwhelming for a mom to be. But the first thing that I want to tell you is that not everything goes according to plan when it comes to pregnancy and birth. You are maybe already pregnant, or you are planning to be pregnant, and you've got this idea in your head about what it's going to be like. You might have an idea about the birth, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm absolutely saying that you should. You should think about your pregnancy. You should think about your birth. You should read up on it and understand what you can expect. But a mistake that I see a lot of moms make is to only focus on one thing and basically disregard anything else that might happen. For instance, say you have your heart set on having a vaginal birth. You are seeing a doula, you booked the doula, you are seeing a midwife, you are planning a hypnobirth or maybe a water birth, and you are reading everything you can about vaginal birth and how to push and how you need to prepare and everything around that, which is fantastic. You have to be prepared. But sometimes things don't go according to plan. Maybe you go into labor early, maybe the baby doesn't turn into a favorable position, or maybe the baby goes into distress and you end up with an emergency C-section. And if you don't know what to expect at all, it can be even more overwhelming, and it can actually lead to proper panic attacks. And then the flip side is also true. You might have your heart set on a cesarean section for whatever reason. And surprise, surprise, your baby decides to come a little bit early or to come very quickly, and before you know it, you are busy giving birth vaginally when you've been prepared for a C-section. You had your date planned. This is when your mom was going to come. This is when your sister was going to come. This was going to be the newborn photo shoot. Everything planned, and then suddenly everything changes. So what am I saying? You have an idea in your head how you want to birth your baby. What I'm saying is that things don't always work out according to plan. So in your reading and preparation about your preferred method of birth, just do a little bit of reading beyond that, and maybe just understand, if women have a cesarean section, what happens? If a woman has a vaginal birth, what happens? Then that leads me to the second thing. You are bound at some point to feel very overwhelmed and like you're in over your head and you have absolutely no clue what you are doing. All I want to tell you is that A, it is very normal. Every mother feels like that. And B, you are doing just fine. In those moments when you feel that you are messing this child up and you don't even know if you're cut out to be a mother, if you're good enough, your hormones fluctuate. You're going to experience all kinds of emotions. But in those moments when your low hits a new low, remember that you are doing the best that you can, and that everybody before you has figured it out somehow. Everybody that's doing it right now is figuring it out somehow, and you will, I promise you, hand on heart, you will figure it out. Everybody just needs a little bit of time to adjust and figure out. You need to figure out your baby. Your baby needs to figure out you and the world around him or her. So obviously it's going to take a little bit of time. So to just give yourself a little bit of grace. So this next one, I was wondering if I should put it in this video or not. But I also want to be more realistic. Most babies, I almost want to say every baby, but I think there definitely are exceptions. Most babies have a time during the day that we call the witching hour. That is a time that nothing seems to keep them happy. For a lot of people, it would be somewhere at night. I know a lot of the moms that I spoke to when my girls were small, around 5-6 p.m. was like witching hour. It was a really bad time. Nothing that you do seems to work, whether you bath or feed. Nothing. They don't want to sleep. They just cry almost inconsolably. That is actually quite normal. But there is a time that babies do this, and the best advice that I've ever gotten and that really worked is just as much skin to skin contact during that time, or baby wearing. So skin to skin, lie with the baby, it calms them down, or put the baby in a wrap, walk around the house, put the baby in a stroller. We kind of on the dot every day at 5 p.m. I put both my girls in a stroller and I went up the road, because then I would actually fall asleep after some time. And it was interesting. As small as they were, it was interesting because there was fresh air, different colors that they could see, even though they couldn't see clearly yet. It distracted them, and it kind of helped. But if you're lucky, you might skip the witching hour. But if you hit that, just know that it is pretty normal for many babies. And you can also try cluster feeding, because a lot of them want to feed constantly during that time. And all I can say there, if they are breastfed, just give them as much boob as they want if it consoles them. If they're bottle fed, they will be full after a bottle, and just make sure that you burp them nicely, that they are comfortable. Then support. Support is so incredibly important when you have a baby. It can be your partner's support. It can be support from a friend, family, your mother, whoever, but it really takes a village to raise a child. I never really experienced it until I had twins, and I realized there was no way that I would have gotten through it if I didn't have the support from my husband and my mother-in-law. They were just all the time, they were there ready to take a baby, ready to bath a baby. The most difficult thing for me was to let go, and this is what I want to talk about as well when it comes to support. Support is not only someone telling you you're doing great or well done, or that is not only support. Support comes in the way of someone making you a cup of tea, or holding your baby while you make a cup of tea. Maybe you would like to make a cup of tea without a baby in your arms. That is also fine. But the biggest thing behind support is, and it's the hardest thing for a mom, is to know at some point to let go a little bit and let people support you. What do I mean? So if I have little baby Luca here, I'm telling you, you don't believe me, the moment that baby comes out, you become such a mama bear, and you want to protect him or her against everybody. No one knows how to change a nappy like you. No one knows how to bath a baby like you. Like, nobody knows how to do it better than you. Like, it's a mother thing. It's not just instinct, it's a mother's thing. Even though you know, you don't actually know how to do it, you still know more than those around you, because it's your baby, and that's 100% fine. But sometimes it gets so intense that you cannot let go, that you won't even let your mother, who raised maybe 5 kids, dare change a nappy, because she's going to do it wrong and she's not going to know how. And that part, once you get to a point where it takes some time, okay? I'm going to be realistic here. It takes time. And it's normal for every mom to do that, because you are trying to figure out your new life as a mom. That's completely normal. But when you get to that point and you let go a little bit, and one nappy in a month or a day, you tell your mom, here you go, can you change his nappy? I just want to have a quick shower. That is amazing, and that is what support can look like. But the key here is that support looks different for everybody. You don't have to let people change nappies or bath or whatever. You don't have to. They might just hold the baby for 5 minutes when you go and brush your teeth or brush your hair. Support is also people helping you out with normal things, washing your dishes or something, but that can only happen if you allow it. So up till the point where you're not okay with it, do your thing. But I'm telling you, it changes your life when you allow people to actually support you. It was really difficult for me to let my mother-in-law bath my baby. I know there were 2, so my husband would bath one, I would bath one, and then she would be here over my shoulder wanting to bath, and I'm like, just leave me, I can do this. But I remember the night that my husband sat me down for a proper pep talk, and he said to me, you're exhausted. You look terrible. I love you, but you look terrible. Please go and sleep. We will bath the babies. We will feed them, because they expressed breast milk at that time, so the night feed was covered. And you just go and sleep. And let me tell you, I woke up from that, I think, 3-hour nap. I felt like a different person. It was the most amazing mind shift to start trusting other people and allow them to support me. make it work for you, but just know they really want to help. It's not that they always want to take over. They can see you perhaps not doing fantastic and they just want to help, but they don't want to overstep boundaries. Tell them how they can help you. Okay, so moving on from support to a little bit less nice one than support is that you will be surprised that the moment that you are either pregnant or the moment that baby comes out, people think it's their right to judge everything you do. How you birthed the baby, how you carried the baby when you were pregnant, how you feed the baby, whatever you do, someone will judge you. Your friends will judge you, your brothers, your parents, your mothers, everybody will judge you. So it's up to you to decide how much of all of that you are going to internalize and how much you are going to approach like a duck with water rolling down his back, saying, you know what, everybody does it differently. Thank you for the advice. Or thank you, I know this is what you did. We're finding another way that works for our family. You're not going to escape it. It is there. People can't help themselves. But it was probably one of the hardest things for me when I had my kids, was not the breastfeeding and the sleep deprivation. I mean, that's a whole different level. But none of that. The worst part for me was how much people thought it was their right to judge you. And other moms were sometimes the worst. So I'm not saying be prepared. I'm just saying expect that people are going to have comments about every decision that you make. You need to decide how far are you going to let them get with their comments. Are you just going to let them finish, ignore it, do your own thing? But you might already experience it in pregnancy. It's going to happen. Having said, I want to stress the point that you can make your own decisions. You don't have to follow everything by the book. As a midwife, I can tell you I did not do everything by the book when it came to pregnancy and what I was allowed to eat or not eat, or birth or sleeping or feeding. All of these things, there are evidence-based research, which is what I'm trying to share with you. But everybody is different. Your family is different. You are different. Your baby is different. And don't feel guilty if you deviate a little bit, as long as you have done your research and you have all the information and you know that the choice that you are making is still a safe choice. It is just modified to fit in with your family or your schedule. Then it's okay. The big thing about making choices when it comes to pregnancy and childbirth is not just making choices because you feel like it. It is making choices based on all the information that you have, so it is an educated choice. So you know what to expect if you make the choice. Okay, this one is an obvious one, but people still underestimate it. So I'm just going to put it out there. No childbirth method is without pain. So if you are planning a vaginal birth, we all know childbirth is painful. So you can expect to have some pain. Now you're saying, okay, but you don't want pain, so you are going to have an epidural. Great. So you don't have the pain necessarily while you are pushing and you're feeling great, but then the epidural is going to wear off at some point. When you have a C-section, you actually have major abdominal surgery. So there's no easy way out of childbirth. Oh, I'm going to do a vaginal birth because it's easier, or I'm doing a C-section because that is easier. They all come with pros and cons. They all come with their indications. They all come with their pain and their pain management. So just know that if you are deciding how you are going to birth your baby, nothing is completely pain-free, but there are many ways to help you cope and get through it. But more on that in later videos. Then the second last thing, you won't necessarily love every moment of being a mom or bringing your newborn home. Where is little Luca here? So you might, in the same hour, experience the utmost feeling of love, that it feels like your heart is going to burst out of your chest with this sleeping little baby, and you love everything about it. Then they wake up and they absolutely lose their mind, and you change the nappy and you feed, and it's half an hour later and there's cramps and this baby is screaming nonstop and you don't know what is wrong. And it carries on, and then it's a week, and then you are 2 months in, and you just sit one day and you look at your little sleeping baby and you feel so much love, but you also think to yourself, I don't love every moment of being a mom. This is really hard. And all I want to say there, you're not alone. You don't have to love every single moment of being a parent. It is really hard. And that leads me to my last point, and that is to be aware of survivor bias. And this is probably the most important one that I want to mention today. So survivor bias has a single, almost verbatim text that you will see. I did this and my baby is completely fine. That is probably the worst advice you can ever give anybody. If you do something, it should be because you read up on it, you researched it, you know all the facts, and you decided, okay, from everything that I've read, what seems to work for me is going to be this way. And everybody's saying, oh, but I did this and my baby was completely fine. I actually wonder if you ever had to get the statistics of how many babies were affected by moms following advice from other moms saying, my baby was fine when I did this. I think that number would be scary. To use an analogy is something like a car seat. So if someone tells you, I've never put my kid in a car seat. From baby time, I put him in the cot or in the little carry cot in the back of the car. When they were bigger, they were sitting all around the car. They were playing games on the back seat. And my baby's completely fine. He's 21. He's studying now to be an engineer. He's completely fine. Don't waste your money on a car seat. You gonna believe them? I don't think so, because the first thought that is probably going to go through your mind is, yes, you were lucky because you were never in an accident. If you were in an accident at some point, that kid would probably have died. And that is survivor bias. I did it, I got lucky, but I don't realize I got lucky. And then I say, but it worked because my baby is fine or my kid is fine at the end of the day. Don't fall for that. If someone gives you that advice, listen to everybody. It's okay if you want to, and go do your research and decide whether you actually believe what they are telling you. So now that you are armed with all the knowledge, I hope that it makes a little bit of sense. Let me be that little voice in your head when these thoughts come back one day to you and you think about it, but just know that you are going to be fine and that you are definitely the best mother that your baby will need. Don't forget to check out this video, and I will see you in the next one.